Chapter 856, The Growing Charm. Tang Xiu took out a cigarette, ignited it and took a few deep puffs before saying, "Everything is ready and just needs the right time to move. Once Ao has bought all the herbs I need, we can leave this place to get rid of that decrepit Dao Master poison. For safety's sake, however, I already contacted Dark and Light to come here." "Dark and Light are coming here, boss?" Jing sure was surprised.
"Yeah,
"This is the issue I'm about to tell you." Tang Xiu nodded and said, "I asked Ao to contact them. I expect them to arrive in Qinglin County this evening, so you are to go quietly in the afternoon, precisely to the hotel suite we checked in last time. You'll wait for them there and then bring them over." "Understood." Jing sure nodded without a word and then flew away to the distance. Not far away from them, after Zhang Xinyue consoled herself, she quickly came to Tang Xiu and asked, "Can I go with him to Qinglin County? I haven't had a shower for a couple of days, and it's quite uncomfortable." "No." Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "I can rest my worries if it's only Jin Shi going by himself, but if you follow him, Dao Master poison would definitely make you suffer under his hands if Jin Shi's identity is exposed. Just endure it. Besides, we'll be leaving in 2 days at the most." A disappointed look flashed in Zhang Xinyue's eyes and she said bitterly, "This is my first time not having a bath for such a long time ever since I was a child. It's really too unbearable. These are also your clothes, overcoat, your underwear." Tang Xiu could only force a wry smile inwardly. The thought of him bringing several sets of women's clothes and underwear inside his interspatial had never crossed his mind. But they were in such a situation where he didn't want to let Zhang Xinyue risk her life, especially since he already made her be in such a humiliating state. Suddenly, his expression changed and he looked hesitant before he said, "I can actually help you if you want to have a shower. It's just..." Zhang Xinyue looked pleasantly surprised and asked, "I can have a shower really? What's the but, exactly?" Tang Xiu firmed himself and explained, "You can have it by arranging some arrays. But I have to be nearby when you take a shower, at least no less than 10 meters. "What?" A blush appeared on Zhang Xinyue's pretty face. But since she thought that she already had skinship with Tang Xiu, her reply was just as simple, "That's fine with me, as long as you don't peep on me." Tang Xiu secretly sighed inside and said, "All right, let's go back to the cave. It's safe staying outside, but there's also the possibility of getting found out after arranging the array." With that said, he turned back to the cave and quickly arranged the formation of the auspicious rain array and set up an averting array around it. Then, he said, "Enter inside and take off your clothes. But do your shower fast, about 10 minutes at max, else you won't have hot water there." "Undress myself there?" However straightforward Zhang Xinyue's character was, she was somewhat bashful and hesitated before she asked, "Can you turn around?" "I..." Tang Xiu took out toiletries from his interspatial ring and handed them to her, "Don't worry. As long as you enter the arrays, nobody outside can see anything inside, but you inside are still able to see the scene outside." "For real?" Zhang Xinyue still hesitated and confirmed more. Tang Xiu didn't answer her but directly entered the array. Much to Zhang Xinyue's surprise, Tang Xiu's figure suddenly vanished from her sight after he walked a few steps forward. It was as if he had vanished out of thin air. After a while, Tang Xiu came out of the array and looked at Zhang Xinyue before saying, "You believe me now, don't you?" Zhang Xinyue happily nodded and walked into the array. Her clothes were drenched by the rain inside, but she was unable to bear the cold rainwater that made her shiver, and she backtracked hurriedly. There was an angry look on her face as he asked aloud, "Hey, didn't you say there's hot water inside? How come the rain here is so cold?" "I already told you to undress first before stepping inside, didn't I?" said Tang Xiu helplessly. "Do you see the line over there? You can undress after you walk past that line and then pass through the second one where the rain will shower on you. So, after you walk past the first line, you need to wait for 10 seconds before the rainwater turns hot." "Eh?" What's the cause for that? Asked Zhang Xinyue with visible curiosity on her face. It's because I'm using supernatural power to wrap this auspicious rain shower array. Tang Xiu forced a wry smile and continued, the high temperature of the fire will cause the rain to heat up while the array is not destroyed. Ah, forget it. You won't understand it even if I tell you anyway. Just hurry up if you want to have a shower. I don't have enough magical power to make it last for a long time. All right. Zhang Xinyue stepped back into the array. Though she was still hesitating when undressing, she chose to believe Tang Xiu after she witnessed him disappear a while ago. After walking past the second line stark naked, she could clearly see Tang Xiu standing outside the array with both hands creating some seals and setting a layer of flame to burn the part past the second line from the outside. She felt bashful inwardly because the moment she got naked, Tang Xiu was standing 7+ meters away in front. But she was also shocked because of this mystical formation array, as well as the flame that enveloped it from the outside. After the water temperature was heating up and the chilling cold finally disappeared, she washed quickly with that bit of shyness. It could be said that this shower was the fastest and most embarrassing one she had ever had in her life. After all, she could watch Tang Xiu just over 7 meters away from her while taking a bath, causing a tidal wave of emotion that rippled inside her heart. She couldn't help but recall that scene of skinship she had that night, the taste of ecstasy of reaching the peak, and those scenes of the passionate collision between them. Hurry up. I can only support it for 2 minutes more. Tang Xiu's voice could be heard from outside. Zhang Xinyue's washing speed increased after hearing that. A minute later, she asked aloud, I am done bathing. But if you end your support, will the water temperature suddenly cool down? Do you still remember those 2 lines I told you? Walk past there and you're done, said Tang Xiu. Got it, replied Zhang Xinyu to Tang Xiu. But after she stepped outside, only then did she suddenly realize that Tang Xiu gave her toiletries before she took a bath, but didn't give her clean clothes. Tang Xiu's face was a bit pale. He constantly generated fire with his magical power and was quite spent at this time. After stopping the spell, he took out a whole set of clean clothes from the interspatial ring without a word, placed them on the bed in the cave, and then said, Here are the clothes you can wear. I'm going out first. Outside the cave, Shui Sha and He Xiong were hiding in the bushes while keeping an eye of distance areas with their mini binoculars, as they sensed that someone was approaching them. The 2 men turned back and immediately saw Tang Xiu, then made a silence hand signal as Shui Sha then leaned toward Tang Xiu and whispered, Have a look at 4 o'clock, about 450 meters away from us, boss. Someone from Qingcheng Monastery is over there, we've been observing that spot for some time. He's alone and now is hiding while resting amid the thick grasses over there. Tang Xiu frowned and asked, From which direction did he come from? From Qinglin County's direction. It seems that he's heading to the Qingcheng Monastery, answered Shui Sha. After staying silent for a while, Tang Xiu said, You two, stay here to protect Zhang Xinyue. I'll follow him to see what he's doing. Won't it be dangerous for you, boss? Asked Shui Sha, looking worried. Relax. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, Before Ah comes back, I'll immediately run away if I encounter Dao Master poison on the way there. Wanting to kill me won't be that easy as long as that old fogey doesn't use his poison. 10 minutes later, Tang Xiu secretly tailed the expert of Qingcheng Monastery who had already rested, and was now quickly heading toward the direction of the monastery. After several hours of running, he finally appeared near the exterior of the Taoist temple which had stopped burning. The man then hid in the dark, and after observing around for some time, he walked out of the bushes and knelt down before the burnt-out Taoist temple. Afterward, he thumped his head on the ground a few times, then headed northward speedily. The man's movements were very light and he was also very vigilant, as he observed any disturbances in the surroundings from time to time. Upon coming to the ruins of the now collapsed tallest building, his figure rushed northwest and appeared in another courtyard in just half a minute. Tang Xiu passed by him and watched the Qingsheng Monastery's man enter a wing room of the building. After releasing his spiritual sense, he was surprised to see that man held a celadon vase that was more than a meter wide. He turned it around hard, and the originally tightly shut wall slowly opened, revealing a wide staircase to the room below. Tang Xiu followed him. At the moment when the man was walking farther along the ladder and the wall was about to close, he instantly rushed inside. Wang Feng. A few voices came fast, followed by a few figures that appeared in front of that man. The man, who was called Wang Feng, burst into tears when he saw the men before him. He hugged each one of them hard and then said bitterly, "Our Qingsheng school is literally over. Only 8 survive of the 64 people who usually lived above. For the sake of preventing you all from making unnecessary sacrifices, the head abbot didn't allow us to open this dungeon and let you all out." A burly middle-aged man hurried asked, "How is the abbot now?" "He's safe, but Deputy Abbot passed away," answered Wang Feng. "I received an order from the abbot to come back here and quietly take you out and flee as fast as possible." Several middle-aged men fell into silence for a while. One of them then pulled out a group of keys and said, "I'm going to open Cell's door. We can't let them die here, even if they did make a mistake in the past." "Yes," the rest nodded without objection. A few minutes later, the 6 cells' doors were opened and 6 men and women, members of the Qingsheng Monastery who had made mistakes and were held here, came out fast, one of whom was a young man who was the quickest to come out. Wang Rui. Tang Xiu, who was hiding in the corner by the ladder, could clearly see with his spiritual sense that the young man was Wang Rui. Wang Rui quickly ran to the few people and hurriedly asked, "How is the situation above? Has the enemy left yet?" "They haven't left yet, but they are still searching for our monastery's people in the vicinity of Qingsheng Mountain," said Wang Feng bitterly. "Only 8 have survived above including me, and the abbot says that the surviving members of our school must hurry up to escape." Wang Rui's pupils shrunk and he suddenly grabbed Wang Feng's arm and asked, "What about my father? Where's he?" Wang Feng's expression turned dark and he answered, "Wang Rui, please restrain your grief and accept the inevitable. The powerful enemy caught up with the deputy abbot when he ran away to Qinglin County, and he died." "What?" Wang Rui's body trembled and his entire being froze on the spot. Chapter 857, Cultivation Art in Exchange for Treasure Troves. It was unexpected for Tang Xiu to see Wang Rui still alive. He sighed inwardly as he observed his pain through his spiritual sense before he walked out from the corner by the ladder. He knew of the tragedy that befell Qingsheng Monastery and previously thought that he could save the remaining members of the school. However, he got poisoned and heavily injured, leading to nearly half of the remaining dozens of Qingsheng Monastery's people getting murdered. Who is it? Except for Wang Rui, 9 out of the 10 people inside the dungeon spotted Tang Xiu and shouted loudly. "You don't need to be nervous as I don't have any evil intentions towards you all." Tang Xiu shook his head and sighed, "It was rather unfortunate that Dao Master Poison ambushed me with his poison, else I could have guaranteed the protection of the remaining members of your Qingsheng school." "It's you?" When Wang Feng saw Tang Xiu, he looked pleasantly surprised and ran to Tang Xiu under the watchful eyes of everyone else. He knelt and kowed out a few times before getting up, then gratefully said, "I didn't expect you to be alive. That night, the remaining members would have definitely died if it weren't for your actions in rescue. I'm Wang Feng of the Qingsheng school, and you're my savior." Tang Xiu patted his shoulder and then came to Wang Rui to speak to him helplessly. "The dead can't be resurrected after death, so restrain your grief and move according to the inevitable. You helped Viviani in the South China Sea, so I'll help you kill Dao Master Poison in return for the favor." Wang Rui didn't expect that he would see Tang Xiu here, nor did he think that the person who helped them in Qingsheng Monastery that night was Tang Xiu. Nevertheless, there was a look of hatred in his eyes when he turned around and asked, "You mean, the man who killed my father and destroyed my Qingsheng school is called Dao Master Poison? The ones who ruined your Qingsheng Monastery were the disciples of Dao Master Poison, But the one who is currently hunting down and killing the rest of your school's members is Dao Master Poison, said Tang Xiu. Your father wasn't killed that night, he should have been found and killed by Dao Master Poison later on. Put away that hatred, Wang Rui. I'll help you get revenge in this blood feud. Wang Rui was silent for a long while before slowly asking, is this Dao Master Poison really that powerful? He's able to fly and is impervious to attacks, so powerful beyond what average people can imagine, said Tang Xiu. Even if you add up all the members of your Qingcheng school, it won't be enough against him, he can just swat you away with his palm. Slump. Wang Rui knelt in front of Tang Xiu and enunciated harshly as he said, Tang Xiu, I know I can never take revenge in this blood feud with my ability, but I hope that you take me with you when you kill Dao Master Poison. I want to witness his death with my own eyes. Tang Xiu hesitated for a moment before he nodded and replied, I can promise you that, but what do you want to do next? If you were to exit now, once Dao Master Poison finds you, you probably won't be able to escape and will die. Are you still unable to beat Dao Master Poison currently, senior? Asked Wang Feng. Maybe I can kill him in a real fight using swords and fists. But the reason why he's called Dao Master Poison is that he's an expert in poison and excels in mysterious poisoning methods, which are unpredictable even to myself. I don't know about the poison he uses, which is the reason he got me easily. Tang Xiu shook his head and continued, for example, what happened that night. I wouldn't have had any problems in keeping my words to shelter the remaining members of your Qingcheng school, and would possibly be able to kill him had I not gotten poisoned first. Then what should we do now? Asked Wang Feng bitterly. Don't worry about that. I've sent my men to find medicinal herbs. As long as the herbs I need can be found, I can refine the poison repellent pill. As long as I take this pill in advance, even if it can't keep all types of poisons away, common potent poisons will be unlikely to have an effect on me. If so, what kind of herbs do you need, senior? Asked Wang Feng quickly. Our Qingcheng monastery has stored a lot of medicinal herbs in our underground vault. Maybe it has what you need. Tang Xiu's expression changed and he quickly told him the herbs he needed. The fact is that the Qingcheng monastery located deep in the Qingcheng mountain didn't cross his mind previously. They had a unique advantage in gathering herbs, and it wasn't surprising that they would have stored a large number of precious herbs. Please come with us, senior, said Wang Feng. We'll go to the underground vault nearby. I know that several types of herbs that you just mentioned are stored inside. Let's. Tang Xiu didn't want to delay anymore either and straightly left the dungeon with them. The underground vault of Qingcheng Monastery was located in a high-rise courtyard in the northeast corner. It was a treasure vault of the monastery in the past and also a forbidden place for most people. But now, the Qingcheng school had fallen into distress and had suffered great losses, so the custom of the past had lost its bind. At the underground vault, apart from the spacious empty hall under the stairs, there were 6 storehouses on both sides of the inner corridor that stored some precious treasures belonging to Qingcheng Monastery. The precious herbs, however, were stored in the outermost 2 storehouses. Tang Xiu entered the first room of the open storehouses and saw 3 rows of cabinets filled with precious herbs. There were hundreds of types of them. Tang Xiu glanced over and saw that there were more than 10 of the 500-year-old wild ginseng here. A few minutes later, Tang Xiu found some of the herbs he needed. But he had probed all the herbs stored inside the 2 storehouses and found that he was still lacking 2 herbs, the wild goose pond reed and the arcane mugwort flower. Wang Rui walked next to Tang Xiu also knew that they hadn't yet found 2 types of herb. He spoke out, we've never heard the names of these 2 herbs, the wild goose pond reed and arcane mugwort flower. Can you draw their pictures to make it easier for us to find them? No problem. Tang Xiu took out a paper and pen and quickly drew the 2 herbs. After some of them looked at the photos, Wang Rui knitted his brows and said, isn't this arcane mugwort flower just a type of Nepenthes, the warthog pen herb? It's just an ordinary weed endemic to the nearby swamp to the west of Qingcheng Mountain. That's right, I used to see some of them inside the dungeon, though few in number. A warthog pen herb? Tang Xiu secretly forced a smile inwardly. Even though he had come across and read many literary works on medicinal ingredients, he had never seen any that mentioned the arcane mugwort flower. Yet, such a precious herb was unexpectedly called the warthog pen, a common nepenthes plant on Earth. One must note that the processed arcane mugwort flower produced a liquid that could promote blood circulation for removing blood stasis, as well as strengthen muscles and bones. It had a good effect on both average people and cultivators, and the flower had benefits for immortals if it was very old. Earth is truly a giant treasure trove. Tang Xiu lamented inwardly and inquired, since we can find the arcane mugwort flower, what about the wild goose pond reed? Do you have anyone who knows this herb? I don't know. I've never heard about this one. All of them shook their heads and had bitter looks on their faces. Then we can only wait if you don't have it, said Tang Xiu. I already sent someone to buy it and he might be able to find the herb. Yes. Each of them could only pin their hopes on the people who were sent out by Tang Xiu at this moment. Tang Xiu headed out of the storehouse but suddenly asked, does your Qingcheng school sell these medicinal herbs? If you are willing to sell them, I can buy them at a high price, or we can exchange it with some other things. We don't sell them, but they can be exchanged, said Wang Rui without thinking. If you exchange it with Taoist cultivation arts, you can take all the herbs stored in these 2 storehouses. The rest immediately looked excited upon hearing that and nodded in agreement with Wang Rui. Tang Xiu was silent for a while before he shook his head and said, speaking about Taoist cultivation arts is no small matter and it cannot be easily exposed to outsiders either. However, there are some cultivation techniques I can impart to you if you want to be stronger. Although it won't take you to the realms of cultivators who are able to fly and drain the river or overturn the ocean, it's still possible to increase your strength more than 10 times. I'll take them. Wang Rui immediately agreed. Qinglin County. In the chief office of the County Public Security Bureau, the police chief, Zhu Honghua, was wearing a deep frown while smoking his cigarette intensely. Sitting across from him included the head of the Communist Party of China's, CPC, County Committee, the party's second-in-command, and the squad captain of the city's criminal police, Li Gangda. At this moment, the second-in-command of the CPC Municipal Committee was also smoking and frowning. You must think of a way to solve this problem. The murders that continue to appear in the jurisdiction of Qinglin County have already caused concerns with the provincial authority. Furthermore, these murders have caused public panic and have seriously affected the stability of Qinglin County. If we can't apprehend this ferocious beast and are unable to solve this problem completely, I'm afraid all of us who are present now won't end up well off either. The second-in-command of CPC Municipal Committee, Xiao Kong, put out the cigarette butt and said with a vexed and sullen face. We've done everything we could think of, but the culprit is obviously not an ordinary person. Wanting to apprehend and bring him to justice proves next to impossible, replied Zhu Hong helplessly. I know. The higher-ups have already sent people here, but we haven't yet learned when they will arrive, said Xiao Kong. However, we can't pin all our hopes on those guys while solely counting on them. At the very least, we need to find the whereabouts of this man before the people from the central authority arrive here. You mean, we must do the intel work first? Asked Zhu Honghua. That's right. Xiao Kong nodded. Knock, knock. A knock was heard at the office's door and a middle-aged man in a police uniform entered the room before quickly reporting, Chief, there are 2 women here saying that they were sent by the higher-ups. They're outside now. 2 women. Everyone's expression changed and Xiao Kong directly got up and said quickly, take us to see them. A minute later, the group saw 2 women waiting outside the hall. If Tang Xiu was here, he would be able to recognize them at a glance as they were old acquaintances, Electro Lady and Aqua Babe. 2 ladies, I am. Electro Lady waved her hand to interrupt Xiao Kang's introduction and straightforwardly said, we don't need to know who you are. Your task is very simple, find a way to help us find the whereabouts of that criminal. At the same time, we are responsible for the operation to capture or kill him. These are our credentials. With that said, the two females took out green books and handed them over to Xiao Kong to inspect them. Xiao Kong forced a wry smile inwardly upon seeing the big characters written on the green books. He knew that these two women in front of him had special identities. After returning the green books to them with a bit of a respectful attitude, he said, "We have yet to find out the location of that criminal, but give us some time. I believe we'll find him as soon as possible and will report our findings to you." "All right, let's exchange contact details." Electra Lady nodded and said, "We'll move to find him in Qinglin County before we obtain the intel from you. If you find him, do contact us via the number I gave you." Chapter 858, Excessive Confidence. Outside the cave entrance near the mountain brooks, Zhang Xinyue stood restlessly with a face full of worries as her eyes constantly watched the direction of Qingqing Monastery. She feared that they would encounter dangers after Tang Xiu left them here. Beside her, Mo Ao had returned and brought a lot of herbs, but it seemed like he also lacked two other herbs. Oh, did the Qingqing Monastery really end up in a tragic situation? The matter of the Qingqing Monastery was never Zhang Xinyue's concern. She didn't ask much, even if there was a powerful enemy who could even injure Tang Xiu severely, since she knew that she had no ability to help them and was just a passerby previously. But now, she was worried about Tang Xiu and thus couldn't help but ask about it.
Yeah.
They've fallen into a miserable state. It's no different from getting exterminated. Mo Ao nodded and said, "The entirety of Qinglin County is in fear. Right now, there's a restless atmosphere where even the slightest disturbance could quake the people. It's because there's a powerful enemy who's looking for Qingqing School's disciples everywhere, and is directly killing them whenever he finds one." Zhang Xinyue's face turned ghastly. She was about to ask more, but her spirit suddenly shook upon seeing more than 10 figures rushing over very quickly from the distance, including Tang Xiu at the forefront, the very man she was always worried about. "Oh, how's the progress with finding the herbs I wanted?" Tang Xiu kept thinking about the issue in refining the poison-repellent pill, so he immediately asked about it the moment he arrived. Mo Ao glanced at a dozen Qingqing disciples and was slightly surprised upon seeing Wang Rui among them. Then he immediately replied, "I was unable to find two herbs, boss. I ran to several cities' medicinal herbs markets, including visiting some pharmacists and herbalists who run a herbs business, but I still can't find them." "Which two herbs, precisely?" asked Tang Xiu with knitted brows. "The arcane mugwort flower and the orange daylily leaf," answered Mo Ao. Tang Xiu spaced out before hurriedly asking, "What about the wild goose pond reed? Did you find it?" "I found and bought it from a medicinal herb store over there." Mo Ao nodded and said, "But the owner asked an outrageous price of 180,000 yuan for it. He didn't even allow me to haggle." "Don't say 180,000 yuan, it's still worth it even if it was priced at 100 times more expensive," said Tang Xiu happily. "Give me the wild goose pond reed first and keep the rest of the herbs for now. Also, these people are members of the Qingqing school that survived due to luck. You are to settle them nearby while I go seize the time to refine the poison-repellent pill." "Boss, light and dark have arrived here as well and they are nearby," reported Mo Ao. "Tell them to stand by and be ready to move at any time," said Tang Xiu with a nod. Immediately after, Tang Xiu arranged a geomancy array inside the cave so as to prevent the leakage of medicinal efficacy when refining the herbs, as well to limit being sensed by people in the vicinity. With the bust furnace demon god spirit devourer cauldron, Tang Xiu stayed in the cave for 2 days and was able to concoct more than 10 poison-repellent pills. "Oh!" shouted Tang Xiu the moment he came out of the cave. Mo Ao and the rest quickly appeared, even including the more than 10 people from the Qingqing Monastery. Their eyes held some expectations as they watched him. "Oh, you're to stay here to wait for my news," said Tang Xiu. "Jinshi and Shui Sha, you are to leave with me along with Wang Rui." We're going with you too, senior, said Wang Feng quickly. You're too weak and will only become a burden if you follow me. Tang Shou waved and said, I'll have no spare hands to protect you when I really have to face Dao Master Poison in combat. Also, the rest of you excluding Wang Rui are to stay here to wait for my message. Zhang Xinyue was aware that she was unable to help, so she reached out to grab Tang Shou's hand and said with a worried face, the great ancestor once said that you should fight if you can and run if you are no match to your enemies. There will still be times when you can achieve it as long as you're still alive, so safety is the most important thing. Don't worry. I always put safety in mind. Tang Shou nodded. Qinglin County. Warm sunlight shined on the whole earth, while a gentle breeze blew past the blooming purple and red flowers. This warm season should have been the most enjoyable days for people, but now, Qinglin County was full of a chilling and murderous atmosphere. Even the pedestrians on the street were anxious and a bit restless. County Public Security Bureau. The captain of the city's criminal police division, Li Gangda, and Zhu Honghua, the chief of Qinglin County's Public Security Bureau, were in the meeting room to discuss the coordination of work and intelligence personnel. Knock, knock. The meeting room's door was knocked on and a middle-aged policeman entered the room to quickly report, Chiefs, the higher-ups have sent another person. Li Gangda and Zhu Honghua exchanged a dismayed glance, though there was also a weird expression on their faces. However, since the person was sent from the authority above, they naturally didn't dare to neglect him. After they came out of the meeting room, they saw Tang Xiu, Jinshi, Shui Sha, and Wang Rui outside. Divine Dr. Tang? Zhu Honghua was quite shocked since he knew Tang Xiu. Precisely speaking, Tang Xiu saved his life at the luncheon of the opening sale ceremony of the Golden Goblet Emperor Gao's Villa complex. I heard that you've encountered troubles and are experiencing a headache in your endeavor to apprehend Dao Master Poison, so I came over to see the situation. Tang Xiu nodded and said, if you can tell me the whereabouts of Dao Master Poison, I can help you catch or kill him. Divine Dr. Tang, you are talking about Dao Master Poison, is he the murderer in the green robe? Asked Zhu Honghua quizzically. Also, he's very powerful and too strong to face, but you. Tang Xiu took out the green book and handed it to the two men and said, I know that old fogey is very formidable and powerful. Even if you use military force to face him, it's impossible to take him down. But I can do it. Zhu Honggua's pupils suddenly shrunk after seeing the green book. Only now did he genuinely realize how terrifying Tang Xiu's identity was. For one to be able to become a special existence of the country's security department, it meant that he was definitely not only highly skilled in medicine and brilliant at business practices, but he also probably had a very formidable strength and combat prowess. As for Li Gangda, he didn't know who Tang Xiu was, but the green book made him instinctively apprehensive and respectful. Seeing that Zhu Honghua knew Tang Xiu, he asked, Chief Zhu, do you know him? Captain Li, do you still remember what I told you before? That divine Dr. Tang saved nearly 100 people at the opening sale ceremony of the Golden Goblet Emperor Gao's Villa complex, asked Zhu Honghua. The respected doctor is now in front of you, though I never expected that divine Dr. Tang is actually someone from the state either. Li Gangda suddenly understood and said with awe and respect, Divine Dr. Tang, thank you for coming. Regarding the information on the criminal you asked about, we're currently looking for him now as well, and the searching area is gradually narrowing down. If our guesstimate is correct, he should be lurking in the Eastern Municipality area. Eastern Municipality area? All right, we'll go looking for him first. Tang Xiu nodded and said, but do contact me at once if you get the exact location of his hiding place in advance. There's something I need to tell you about, Divine Dr. Tang, said Zhu Honghua. Two people came here just before you arrived and they are in the same department as you. They are now in Qinglin County and are searching for the whereabouts of the murderer too. What are they called, exactly? Tang Xiu was surprised. One of them is called Electro Lady, whereas the other one is Aqua Babe, said Zhu Honghua. A strange expression appeared on Tang Shou's face and he couldn't help but chuckle and comment.
Ah.
It turned out to be these two. It seems the murder cases in Qinglin County have already alerted those higher-ups, eh? Alright, I'll note that. If you don't have anything else, we'll take our leave first. In the eastern municipality, Electrolady and Aquababe were standing atop a 10-story tenement building, both using binoculars to calmly observe the situation in the surroundings. The intel from the Public Security Bureau said that the murderer was very likely to be hiding in the vicinity, so they decided to stay here and wait for the murderer to expose himself without much effort. It seems that there are a lot of people interested in this old man. Dao Master Poison appeared behind the two women out of thin air. He didn't rush to attack them, but just grinned with a strange gaze at the two women. There was a bit of lust and indecent intention in his eyes, as if he could undress these two young women with his eyes only. The expression of Electrolady and Aquababe greatly changed as they turned back in a flash, ready for battle. When they saw that Dao Master Poison was just 10 meters away from them, however, the two women's hearts were relentlessly falling deeper in despair. Powerful enemy. He has a very terrifying strength. I'm afraid it'll be extremely difficult to take him down with just the two of us. The two women exchanged glances fast while tacitly understanding what each other had in mind and nodded without a word. Electrolady treaded a step forward and looked at Dao Master Poison before coldly speaking, "You're not an average person, so why do you keep killing those of ordinary society and create panic? Don't tell me you dare to go against the state's will?" The state's will? What a big joke. Dao Master Poison mocked. Although this old man once lived in China for more than 100 years, I've never set foot here for the latter half of my life. Had it not been for my two good-for-nothing disciples coming here, do you really think I'd be happy to come over? Regardless of whatever reasons you have, we are now giving you two choices. First, you are to submit without resisting. Second, you are to leave China and are not allowed to step your feet in China's territory ever again. Dao Master Poison touched his chin and smilingly said, "You still want to threaten this old man by relying on the two of you, little babes? For real? Well, I won't hurt you even if you threaten me, though. As long as you're well-behaved and serving this old man very well, I can forgive those little guys of the Qingcheng Monastery. However, this old man must still find and kill that bastard punk who killed my two disciples and has been badly injured by me." A cold glint flashed in Electrolady's eyes, and she angrily shouted, "Old loach, never think that because you have fearsome strength, you can do whatever you want here. The might of a nation is not something you can afford to fight against. Overconfident and trying to bite more than you can chew, eh?" Dao Master Poison shook his head and with the dragon figurehead walking stick in his hand, he immediately sent a barrage of attacks toward Electrolady. Boom. A flying sword instantly appeared in front of Electrolady and the dragon figurehead walking stick was shattered along with the scattering flames. Dao Master Poison staggered backwards for several steps in succession before he was barely able to stabilize his body. Currently, in front of Electrolady, Light was dressed in white attire, donning a stunning and handsome look with a natural unrestrained attitude. He looked at Dao Master Poison and smilingly said, "The two of them may be biting off more than they can chew, unaware that they're doing something beyond their ability. But what if you add me into the lineup? Who the hell are you?" Dao Master Poison's expression turned grim and he shouted in a rough, heavy voice. "I don't think you're qualified to know who I am," said Light with a chuckle. "What you need to know is that you'll only have one end today. That is, to have your soul scattered and vanished." Chapter 859, Man will do anything in his means for riches. Dao Master Poison's face was full of contempt, but greed was visibly flashing in his eyes as he stared at Light's flying sword. He had sharp eyes and insight and had followed his master when he was young, where he saw the scenes of powerful cultivators who controlled and manipulated swords to fly. Unfortunately, his sect didn't have the heritage to refine the flying sword, let alone the arts to control it. He felt vexed due to the numerous times that he, as a cultivator, found himself not having a magical weapon such as a flying sword. There's no use in having such a sharp mouth, brat. Dao Master Poison reluctantly took his eyes off the flying sword and slightly flicked his finger. Light, who had been vigilantly observing Dao Master Poison, was keenly aware of this finger flick. He immediately flashed back to the middle between Electro Lady and Aqua Babe. His flying swords hovered and danced in a circle midair, while both of his hands grabbed the two women's shoulders as he instantly flashed to step on his flying sword and flew northward, towards Qingcheng Mountain. You want to run? Dao Master Poison never expected that Light was so alert and powerful that he was even able to find out that he had secretly released a poisonous mist. His figure instantly turned into shadow as he pursued, only to find with amazement that this guy turned out to be able to control his flying sword to fly very fast. Even though he towed two people with him, his speed was on par with his flying speed limit. That was truly a treasure. The greed he already had turned more intense, and he pumped out his speed to the maximum and burst forward in the blink of an eye, to pursue him. In just more than 10 breaths, the pursuit had passed through the county town and continued to the top of the mountain at the outermost part of Qingcheng Mountain. At the entrance of the Qinglin County Public Security Bureau, Tang Shou suddenly looked up as his sharp eyes suddenly shifted to the northeast sky. He clearly saw several figures moving lightning fast and flying to the north. It's Light with Electro Lady and Aqua Babe, while the one who chases them is Dao Master Poison. Tang Shou clenched his fists and handed over the invisibility charm to the other 3 men. Then, he grabbed Wang Rui's shoulder and instantly soared to fly toward that direction. At the mountain peak around Qingcheng Mountain, Light's wholly smiling face drastically changed as he put down Electro Lady and Aqua Babe. It was because Aqua Babe looked fine, though she didn't lack her vigilance as she flashed dozens of meters backward with a dagger in her hand. On the other hand, Electro Lady spaced out and stood still as she watched Light's handsome face, seemingly bewitched and intoxicated by him. The sight was, nonetheless, quite amusing to Light, so he reached out to pat Electro Lady's pretty face, and he said with a chuckle, "Hey, beauty. Wake up."
Ah.
What? Electro Lady seemed to have been dragged from a dream. Conscious of how much of a love-struck fool she just looked like, her stunning face immediately blushed ear to ear as she staggered 2 steps backwards and bashfully twisted and pinched her clothes. Dao Master Poison then landed 10 meters away from the trio and took out black gloves from his sleeve pouch and quickly wore them. Light's speed was too fast, and even though he was confident in his own strength, he still had to be careful at this moment. Hand over your flying sword, brat. I can spare you your death. Wow, you're catching up very fast, old loach. Light let out a pale smile and said, never thought that your cultivation is also at golden core stage, more so at mid-stage, nonetheless. No wonder you can strike my grandmaster so badly with your poison when he was slightly careless. I gotta admit that I might be unable to beat you in combat alone. But rest your worries, though. It's not me who must clean you up since Grandmaster should be here soon if my guess is correct. His Grandmaster? Dao Master Poison's countenance changed and looked surprised as he asked, who's your Grandmaster? TSK, you seem to have lived for too long, to think that your intellect has deteriorated this much. Light shook his head and smilingly said, you ambushed my Grandmaster with your poison. You sneak attacked and even injured him in the Qingcheng Monastery not long ago, am I right? Dao Master Poison's pupils shrunk and he shouted in a heavy voice, that youngster? He's your Grandmaster? Are you kidding me? His strength is just equal to yours at most, how could he possibly be your Grandmaster? Whoosh. 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 A few figures appeared in front of Dao Master Poison in a flash. Tang Shou put Wang Rui down as his eyes flickered and he coldly said, why can't I be his Grandmaster, even if my strength is just equal to his? It's really you. Dao Master Poison was surprised, yet amazed at the same time. But you have obviously been poisoned, I even struck you hard. How come you're now? You want to know why, as if nothing happened to me, huh? Tang Xiu grimly sneered and said. If I didn't have a trivial method to dispel your poison, how could I be worthy to be his Grand Master then? Dao Master Poison, you poisoned me and keep provoking me, and yet you actually dare to stay in Qingcheng Mountain. Do you really think that you're invincible here? Dao Master Poison was secretly turning vigilant and on guard. He had observed them and discovered that of the 3 people brought by Tang Xiu, 2 of them were cultivators, though very weak, whereas the last one seemed to be an average person who has practiced some trivial martial arts. However, 2 of them were strong enemies at Golden Core cultivation stage, regardless. One of whom had powerful magical spells, while the other one had a magical flying sword. If he were to really clash with them head-on, he might not be able to seize the upper hand. Poison, then. It was his most powerful killing trump card, poison. Facing 2 powerful enemies, he instantly took out the jade gourd from his waist and unplugged its cap. 2 black venomous bees then flew out from the inside. The 2 bees, however, didn't directly attack Tang Xiu and the others but sprayed out 2 clusters of black mist. Tang Xiu just glimpsed at it and flicked a poison-repellent pill to the front of Light, and another one to the cliff tens of meters away before shouting in a deep voice, "Take this pill." Light swallowed the pill without hesitation and respectfully said, "Grand Master, this disciple has arrived here. You might as well give me this ancient poison to resolve? I believe I can kill him here without the need for a burial place in only a few minutes." "Don't underestimate him and take him lightly," said Tang Xiu faintly. "Understood." Light smiled as a jade flute instantly appeared in his hand and his flying sword hovered around him, while the melodious sound then drifted out from the jade flute. A surprised expression flashed in Tang Xiu's eyes after he heard the sound of the flute playing from Light. There was a happy expression on his handsome face since he didn't expect that Gu Yan would pass the melody of the floating sword to Light. One must know that he was the one who created this melody of the floating sword in the past and taught it to Gu Yan when she was a teenager. Dao Master Poison retreated sharply and then soared to air and stood there. Disbelief filled his eyes as he shouted harshly, "My bee venom has no effect on you? I forgot to tell you one thing. You ambushed me with your poison, so I had to waste some time to refine a poison-repellent pill." Tang Xiu sneered at him and continued, "Unless your bee's venom can kill an expert at the nascent soul stage, it won't have any effect on us whatsoever." Poison-repellent pill? Dao Master Poison's body trembled and the vigilance on his face grew thicker. He was a poison master. Even other cultivators who were at the same cultivation stage of Golden Core were afraid of his poison. Yet, the very thing he worried about the most was encountering a powerful person who had the ability to concoct anti-poison pills. What should I do? Dao Master Poison began considering whether he should keep fighting or run away. Light, however, didn't give him more time to think. While playing the flute, the flying sword circling around him seemed to be under the control of a general as it suddenly transformed into overlapping layers of sword images. They blotted out the sky and covered the sun as they flashed toward Dao Master Poison. One only needed spiritual sense to execute the secret art to control flying swords at their will, but the melody of the floating sword had a harsher requirement. Along with the wake of the rhythm and tune of the melody, the flying sword seemed to have transformed into a mirage of thousands upon thousands of horses and soldiers in a battle formation, as it strangled the enemy in a peculiar position inside the formation. What is this? Dao Master Poison felt a chill down his spine, and he retreated sharply to the vacant space behind him. From the spectacle of this strike, he didn't dare to face it head-on, despite having a layer higher of cultivation level than Light's. However, at this moment, overlapping ripples suddenly appeared in the air tens of meters behind him. Huh? Most of Dao Master Poison's attention had been focused to the front, making it so he could only notice the air fluctuation from behind at this time, and yet, it made him restless regardless. Being prudent and cautious as he always was, he sharply flashed to the side at the moment he retreated back. But the flying sword flashed in the air and struck his chest. He was barely able to avoid a strike to the heart by a hair's breadth. Damn. Never once in his wildest dreams did Dao Master Poison expect that there was someone in this world who could hide his body and presence in the air. Just as the suddenly appearing flying sword pierced his body, he saw a shadow suddenly emerge and control the flying sword to swiftly strike him hard. One-eyed dragon, get out and save me. Dao Master Poison was truly afraid after getting mauled this heavily, since the shadow in a black robe not only controlled the flying sword, but also had sealed off all his escape routes. Those sword images seemed omnipresent and appeared in front of him in a flash. He clearly realized that he would only meet the god of death if there was nobody to his rescue. What sinister and evil two younglings. A figure instantly bolted lightning fast from a nearby forested mountain and arrived in an instant. A bronze axe split out and clashed with the flute-controlled flying sword. To Tang Xiu and Light's surprise, the flying sword was unable to crush the bronze axe. Even the overlapping layers of sword images dissipated by the enormous force instead, while the flying sword itself flew back to Light. Puff. 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 Dark, who was wearing a black robe and controlling her flying sword, left more than 10 bloody wounds on Dao Master Poison's body before she flashed down into the forested mountain below. In just nearly half a second, her figure then disappeared into the dense bushes below. Tang Xiu watched the old man who had saved the life of Dao Master Poison. He was a one-eyed blind man with loosely hanging white hair, clad in a grayish-black Chinese tunic suit. His blind eye was covered by an eye patch made of leather, showing that he was really a one-eyed man. Are you in cahoots with him? One-eyed dragon let out a hollow laugh and sighed. The young truly exceed the old, like how the waves behind push those before them, just like in the old saying, really. This old man truly admires you younglings. It's just, why did you say I'm this old Poison's companion? This old man merely follows this old Poison to collect his debt, but unexpectedly came across this mess. Old man, I'm really curious what kind of debt Dao Master Poison owes you, to think that he's worth saving like he's worthy of your life, sneered Tang Xiu. Today's matter has been set in stone and can only end with death. You are rushing into metals so rashly, but there's no way you are allowed to only pay heed to your own moral betterment while ignoring us. One-eyed dragon broke into laughter and then said, don't speak so big of a tone, kid. In spite of that, this old man is not your match. You can't stop me if I want to escape. It's even to the extent that I have always wondered who could stop me in this world, though I'm sure it wouldn't be more than 5 people in total. Chapter 860, Trapped like a turtle in the jar. One-eyed dragon was full of confidence, and the pride of his was unintentionally shown in his speech and manner. Even his eyes when he looked at Tang Xiu contained some contempt and ridicule. Are you sure of it? Said Tang Xiu with a faint smile. This old man is certainly sure that those who can stop me in this world are very few, and you're absolutely not one of them, said One-eyed Dragon proudly. It's useless spitting out nonsensical things, kid. If you really have the means to keep this old man in check, how can you wait for me to appear then? Tang Xiu gently raised his hand and 8 array discs appeared in his hands out of the blue. His body flickered, leaving afterimages behind in succession while he threw the 8 array discs out in a flash. His hands danced in the air to inscribe the array diagram in the air as the 8-division dragon trap array was successfully arranged in just over a second and completely activated, along with the injection of magical power. Tang Xiu then returned to his original spot and gently stroked his chin with his finger as he smilingly said, "Now, I want to see how will you escape. If you can break this array within 10 minutes, I'll spare your life, old blind man, but don't blame me for being merciless when I erase your soul to never be able to be reincarnated again if you can't do so." Array formation? One-eyed dragon and the badly scarred Dao Master Poison glanced at each other as they sweat out every pore. They were all cultivators, yet they knew utterly nothing about the array. Even in regards to alchemy, they only had a rough knowledge of it and were only able to refine very ordinary medicinal pills. They were literally ignorant about the 2 skills cultivators should usually excel with, alchemy and pill refining. Among the cultivators they were acquainted with, they knew none that were able to refine medicinal pills or weapons, let alone arrays which possessed mystical and magical effects. Who exactly are you? Trapped inside the array, One-Eyed Dragon's voice penetrated the golden-colored energy shield of the array as he asked aloud with a faint, pale complexion. If you want to know who I am, try to break through the array I just temporarily arranged if you have the ability, replied Tang Xiu indifferently. Of course, there will be more interesting things coming soon even if break through it, though. Shortly put, you can expect to end up very miserable today. And I promise you that it will be very tragic. With that said, he straightly ignored them and turned to look at Electro Lady and Aqua Babe who were spacing out. He spoke to them with a smile, "Two ladies, have you been well since our last meeting?" Aquababe's lips twitched a few times and she replied with a wry smile, "If we knew that you were here, we wouldn't have been required to come over, Mr. Tang. Besides, we didn't know that these people were cultivators before we were sent here, and definitely didn't know about their strength being this terrifying. It can be said that you've saved us yet again this time. Speaking as a matter of fact, we can be said to be colleagues, so it's proper to help each other in the first place." Tang Xiu slightly smiled and said, "If anything, let me do the work here. You can take your leave first if you two have other things to tend to. We can't go back immediately without solving this first, Mr. Tang." Aquababe looked hesitant when she replied, "Besides, I know that you don't like troublesome matters, so we can wait for you to deal with them and we'll take care of the aftermath." "Fine then." Tang Xiu nodded. From the moment Tang Xiu came here, Electro Lady was completely lightheaded. She never thought that Tang Xiu would appear in this place, nor did she expect that he was in a group with that super handsome guy who made her heartbeat beat faster without end, the very cause of her being in a complete mess. As she came back to her senses, Electro Lady pointed to Light and asked, "Mr. Tang, is he your grand disciple?" Tang Xiu glanced at the handsome and spirited, yet elegant and unconventional, Light in his white attire. Then he smiled and replied,
"Yeah."
"He's indeed my grand disciple according to the seniority of the generations. What's up? Are you interested in my grand disciple now?" Electro Lady blushed and her pretty face reddened ear to ear. But she was still able to reply with all seriousness, "You're teasing me, Mr. Tang. But he's indeed really good, much to my liking. If you could help me match with him, you would be my benefactor in the future." Tang Xiu's laughter burst aloud, while Light kept shaking his head and was at a loss to either laugh or cry. "You see, everyone does have a heart for beauty and I know that my grand disciple is really satisfactory," said Tang Xiu with a smile. "It's just, you still need to resolve your male and female issues between you and him, so I won't meddle with you guys. Hey, Light. You make this Belle's heart a mess, so you must comfort her well, but do remember not to hurt her, alright?" The air a few meters from Tang Xiu swayed and rippled as Dark, clad in a black robe with elegant flowing black hair, appeared and approached Tang Xiu in a gentle manner. She pulled Tang Xiu's hand and said with a pretty smile, "You're right, Grand Master. It's time for my brother to get a wife and have children. I'm sure he won't dare to disobey you taking the role of a matchmaker for him." "Hey, Dark!" Light angrily shouted. Tang Xiu glanced at Dark's mask in surprise before he shook his head and couldn't help but laugh. "You see, I'd like to be a matchmaker for him, but I don't know what kind of woman he likes." "But you can't always live hiding in the dark all the time, Dark. A man should get married upon coming of age and so should a woman. You can tell me secretly if you have someone you like, though." Dark's eyes spaced out and she angrily retorted, "What are you talking about, Grand Master? I won't marry any man unless he's as great as you." Tang Xiu couldn't help but burst into laughter again and said, "There are not many men like me. Even in the immortal world, a man like me is very rare, you know. You're too demanding with that request, you should slightly lower the criteria." Dark was similarly unable to hold her laughter and her body flashed and disappeared into the air. Northward, Qinglin County. Atop the roof of a more than 10-story high building, Li Gangda and Zhu Hongguo were standing side by side while using their binoculars to observe the sky above Qingsheng Mountain in the distance. They could clearly see the golden energy shield over there, as well as Tang Xiao and the other people above the mountain. You know, Captain Li, I used to never believe in the existence of supernatural beings, but now I believe that there are celestial immortals in this world. Zhu Hongguo sighed and produced a wry smile.
Yeah.
I used to know that there were ability users like elementalists in the world. These people are already very terrifying, and they are under the jurisdiction of a special department, specializing in dealing with extraordinary special cases in the country. But little did I think that there would also be a kind of people who are even more powerful than them. If I'm not mistaken, these people should be the so-called cultivators in the legends, those who walk the path in pursuit of the imaginary and mysterious immortal realm. Isn't that just hearsay? Zhu Hongguo was surprised. How on earth can there be? Li Gangda put down his binoculars and pointed northward toward the mountain and argued, words alone are no proof, but seeing is believing. You don't mean that you are not convinced by those people, right? Zhu Hongguo's mouth opened before he assented with a nod and forced a wry smile. That's right. I believe it. We always missed apprehending the murderer before, but it turns out that he's not an ordinary human at all, but a cultivator who has magical means. But we can be completely relieved with Divine Dr. Tang now handling this problem. I believe our superiors won't blame us anymore.
Yeah.
With so many homicides in Qinglin County, I have long realized that I cannot cover it much longer. But who would have thought that there's a glimmer of hope at our darkest hour? Things took a new turn when our murderer turned out to be that kind of a person, right? If the higher-ups knew about this matter, in all likelihood, they are unlikely to put the crown of neglecting my job on my head and kick me out of my job. I think you don't need to worry about that. Li Gangda nodded. Anyways, I'm actually very grateful toward Divine Dr. Tang, you know, said Zhu Hongguo. He has saved my life before, and now he acts to catch the villain. If our country can have more celestial immortals like him, we'll probably have a much more peaceful situation. You sound like you admire him a lot, said Li Gangda with a smile. You bet it. It's not only admiration, but worship plus gratitude added with respect, said Zhu Hongguo. Li Gangda laughed loudly for some time and then picked up his telescope again. Above the mountain peak, the 8-division Dragon Trap Array was able to continuously absorb the energy from all directions to keep itself operating steadily. It only had a single role, to trap the enemy inside. At present, Dao Master Poison and One-Eyed Dragon had fallen into a frenzy as they launched a barrage of attacks to the energy shield formed by the array. Still, they were unable to break it. This is meaningless and won't do, One-Eyed Dragon. This array can isolate the heaven and earth energy, while we are constantly consuming our energy with no way to replenish it. We'll definitely be spent here if we keep attacking it. Though Dao Master Poison's injuries were no longer bleeding out, the severe injuries he had gotten made him extremely violent and irascible. I know what you said, but I can't think of any other means except that particular method to break this array, replied One-Eyed Dragon bitterly. You mean, that soul-slaying spike of yours? Dao Master Poison was shocked.
Yeah.
It's that cursed item, answered One-Eyed Dragon helplessly. I've been sealing it inside my body for years as I try to subdue it, yet, it still refuses me to use it. Supposing that I barely manage to use it once this array is broken, it will no longer be under my control and I'll lose the chance from then on. Dao Master Poison was silent for half a minute and said bitterly, use it. Even if we lose a treasure, it's better than us being trapped here. If we can escape and get back, I'll give you my poison dragon. That golden thread snake, asked One-Eyed Dragon, surprised. This old man spent 180 years breeding and raising this golden thread snake. Although it's hopeless to transform into a flood dragon in this life, it has really grown up and I think its strength is not much different with that aquatic dragon. Are you serious about this? Asked One-Eyed Dragon in a deep voice while narrowing his eyes. I mean it, but all the debts I owe you from the past will be written off, said Master Poison. No problem. One-Eyed Dragon was definitely happy with the reply. Then, he sat directly in the air with hands placed on his chest. At the moment they were separated and moved upwards. A dense blob of chi slowly took shape above his head as a half-foot-long jet-black spike with countless bizarre runes engraved on it appeared inside the dense blob of chi. Break. One-Eyed Dragon floated upward and fiercely waved his hands while controlling the soul-slaying spike to blast the golden energy shield. Cracking and explosion sounds were heard as a crack appeared on the golden energy shield, before it spread to the surroundings like a spider web. In just a few seconds, the array was thoroughly broken while the 8 array discs also exploded. Buzz. An aura of energy suddenly surged up from the jet-black soul-slaying spike and instantly broke away from the control of One-Eyed Dragon.